Should be, you'll not believe this. I turned 20 years old 1 week ago, so I'm no longer a teenager. So this video is all about the 20 things I wish I could tell my teenage self. Three, two, one. Launch to success with Vera. Because if you are a teenager or you know a teenager, send this to them, whether it's your sibling or your friend. I think this episode can be very helpful because the teenage years are some of the hardest to navigate literally ever. Being a teenager, for a lot of it, was hell. This is if I'm being brutally honest with you. You just have so much change happening. You're growing up, your hormones are all over the place. You feel like you can't control yourself, but you also feel oddly conscious of yourself and your role in the society, and you feel anxious and you feel like you want to compare yourself to everything that moves and breathes. It's a very turbulent time, so hopefully this episode will help. Now, for context, I've been creating content since I was 11 years old. I started this YouTube channel, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, Vera on YouTube, since I was 14. So you can actually go back and see how I was and see my journey and how I've transformed to be, 20 now. But to summarize, I was in my insanely toxic productive era, ages like 12 to 19. Toxic productivity was the name of the game. It is obviously not anymore because I've changed and I've grown a lot. And since then, I've really embraced balance, which a lot of the lessons that I learned will be about that. And before we go into the lessons, first of all, I hope you're like getting ready or something or doing something cozy because I have my matcha right now. So hopefully this feels like a little FaceTime call. I want to update you a little bit about my life and what's been happening recently. With growing up, I have different thoughts about it. First of all, did it feel like crazy? Did I have a mental breakdown when I turned 20? No. Why? Because majority of my life, I've been surrounded by people older than me. And that does not necessarily just mean friends. Like, majority of my friends are older. It's just the way that it's always been. I don't have like a lot of friends. So by majority, I mean a few people. Because it is the majority. But also, for example, in my family dynamic, I've always been very close with everyone in my family. Obviously, they're my bestest friends, but I've always been super close with my older sister, and she's older than me by 5.5 years. And we've been hanging out since I was like 11 years old. That's when we kind of bonded and started hanging out since, So my boyfriend is also 4 years older. So I don't know. I feel like with turning 20 in my mind, I've been 20 for some time since I was like 13 years old. So it's not like a huge shift. Like, oh my gosh, I'm no longer a teenager. Oh. I also do not follow a standard teenage growing up trajectory. I never went to college full time, this is what one of the lessons is about. We'll definitely talk about it then. I graduated high school early. I've been building my career since. Like, I'm successful at what I do. My salary, like salary wise and kind of where I am in my career, it's of someone who's been working at it for a few years, which I have. I've been creating content since I was 11 years old. I'm a full-time content creator and also social media coach, and I love my job more than anything in the world, and it's so amazing, and I'm working on so many cool projects. But anyway, so that's why I feel like with growing up, like, it never really hit me of like, oh my gosh, you're 20 now, responsibility has fallen on your head. Because I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I am an immigrant. Like, I come from like an immigrant household. I think a lot of it is upbringing too, but I was brought up to be very responsible and like to take care of myself. So, I never had that like, oh, now I have to be taking care of myself instead of my parents having to do that for me. So that's why I think with growing up, like, it wasn't so horrible. But just the thing hitting me. But also at the same time, it's kind of crazy to think that I feel a sense of pressure thinking about these years because it's like, these are my prime years in my life. Like, I know for a fact when I'm 40, I'll look back when I'm 20, I was like, oh, I was so beautiful. I just had so much energy. I was so smart. And I feel like I put this pressure on myself not to waste those years. But at the same time, I've exited my toxic mindset granted productivity era. So I do not want to go back to that era anymore. And I want to be more balanced. But I feel like when I am being balanced, like, I feel like a pang of guilt sometimes. Like, oh, you should be doing more. Oh, you should be working more. So that's something I'm navigating. The toxic productivity voice is not as loud as this one was because it was insane at one point in my life. Like, I literally just would not rest, period. And I thought that was normal. A lot of the lessons are about that. But for context, like, it's me speaking to my teenage self, so you get a point. Now, let's talk about my birthday and all the festivities. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like before my birthday, 1 week before, I become extremely depressed. And I have just so many emotions. It is worse than riding a roller coaster, because at least with a roller coaster, you know how it's going to go. With my emotions, a week before my birthday, I do not know. And what's really funny is I went on a road trip with my boyfriend, like a little pre-birthday trip. I don't know. He had a personal time off, or paid time off, sorry, PTO for his work. So he took a vacation, but it happened to be before my birthday. This was amazing. We went to San Francisco. I live in Orange County, so Southern California. We went to Yosemite, Napa Valley, like Northern California, road trip. Amazing. We were there for like, I think 5 days, but we basically spent a whole week together. It was really amazing. But poor guy. Because I said I was emotional. It was really, I don't know. I just had my emotions all over the place. And also 1 week after, usually like I'm super turbulent emotionally. But for this year, what I tried to do is I tried to keep myself really busy with the road trip, for example, also the projects I'm working on. I took some rest for work, so I tried to navigate it the best I could. My birthday went amazing. I got surprised with so many things. For this birthday, I decided to ask not for gifts, but for experiences. So here's what I have lined up. Next weekend, okay, what I already did. I already did a pottery class with my best friend, Perry. If you're listening to this, I love you so much. You're my favorite person ever. It was so fun. We made 2 pieces of pottery. And then I went to Color Me Mine with my boyfriend too, of course. Love Vera boy. It was really amazing. I'm gonna pick up the cups soon. I will do it together. We made like cups for each other. Really amazing. I love like doing things with my hands, as you can tell. And then next Saturday I have goat yoga. My younger sister and her boyfriend got me that as a gift. Goat yoga? Are you kidding? In LA, I'm so excited. It's gonna be so much fun. I'll film it obviously. Like goat yoga. I've been meaning to do puppy yoga, but they're like, oh, we couldn't find it. So like works for me. And then in 2 days, I'm going to some sort of workshop with my mom, also to make like I think a cup holder or something like that, which I'm excited for. And then, you know how I said next weekend, like next Saturday, next Sunday, I have a dance class, a hip hop beginners dance class with my oldest sister, Leisha. Playground LA, you might have heard of it. She's like, a lot of influencers go there. We have to go. Like, it's such a good one. I was like, okay, I'm down. I'm down. I'm so excited. And I actually took a dance class, like, I think 3 or 4 days ago with my older sister, Alexandra. I have a lot of sisters, as you can tell. And that was crazy. So I feel like I'm just doing so many new things in such a fun way. And it's really enriching me. And I guess to kick off the lessons, the first one, and this is not something I would tell my teenage self, it's more of a reflection, but I've always, my whole life pretty much, as soon as I graduated high school early, I've tried to put myself in a box of like entrepreneurship because I am an entrepreneur. I've never been employed by anyone like in a corporate structure or anything like that. I mean, I babysat, like that was my only time of employment, you know, and obviously I did some like projects here and there, but as a full-time income, like I've always been an entrepreneur. So I've always tried to put myself in an entrepreneurship box. Like if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be working 10 times harder and you have to be doing this. And this is the structure you have to be following. And if you're not doing this work, then you're not going to be successful. Like I would just always get really down on myself. And one of the bigger reflections I had recently is just realizing that by nature I'm a creative person, believe it or not. Like I'm very logical. My logical side of the brain is active, but I am very creative at the same time. I love music. I'm actually working on my second song. It's going to be coming out soon. I'll share more details when I have them. I've been working on that pretty adamantly. I love music. I love songwriting. I love singing. I love playing the piano. I don't do it as much now, obviously, because I do have a lot of work to do, so I'm like focusing on my career a little bit more, but that's still a hobby that very much enriches me. I love art. I love museums. I love painting. I love looking at art. I love trying new things. I also have a surf class coming up. This is the one I was most excited about. I forgot to mention it. So the point is, by nature, I'm a creative person, and my bigger realization was just realizing that I do not have to put myself in a box. I can just be the way that I am. I can be a creative person and still work hard and still be successful, but I do not have to work by the like structure I've been trying to put myself into. So something I got out of that is instead of putting the pressure on myself of like you have to be working 8 hours a day, like you have to be working 9 to 5. I don't know why I tried to do that because I do not work a 9 to 5 for a reason. Like it's very silly that I did that, but I was like, if you want to be successful, you have to be working 9 to 5. I do not work 9 to 5. I work weekends sometimes, like Sundays I don't, but Saturdays I work weekends. I work, I don't know how many hours a day, but I know for a fact that the hours that I work are extremely focused. So that was my big realization, just not putting that pressure on myself. Okay. Hopefully that applies to you as well. It's kind of like, I guess with studying too, it can apply. I know a lot of Gen V are students, a lot of us, and we're studying. And if you see people studying for like 12 hours, just know that there are ways around doing that. Unless you're like in med school or like in law school and you're like, yeah, I gotta have to, then I completely understand. But point is, you do not have to do what everybody else is doing. For working, you don't have to be working 8 hours. Because like I was thinking about 9 to 5 schedules, and this does not go for all, but it definitely goes for a lot of the people I know who have 9 to 5s. They do not actually work 8 hours. Like I don't know why I try to guilt myself into doing that, but they do not actually work 8 hours. A lot of it is just like kind of stretched out work that's not super effective. So if you really compress it, it's going to be around 5 to 6, you know, like maybe even less. So point is, the success that you get from your work isn't necessarily all the time in the amount of time you put in, but oftentimes in the quality of your work, in how you put in the effort. Work smarter, not harder. I don't know, this sounds like so silly, but It's been the thing I've been most scared to admit ever. Like, I've always wanted to be perceived as like this hardworking individual that like I put my heart on the line, like I work 24/7, blah 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 blah. This is all by hard work. This is all me. But I think lately I've just been trying to let go of that idea, because I mean, I've just been allowing people to perceive me the way they perceive me instead of how I want to be perceived, you know? So, okay, this was kind of like a little trauma dump. Just kidding. It was not a trauma dump at all, but it was a dump nonetheless. I don't know. I feel really weird like sharing really personal things. I don't know why, but there's some of my favorite podcast episodes. Now getting into lessons. So, first things first, one of the things I would tell my teenage self is that the purpose of life is just living it. When I was a teenager, I was obsessed with figuring out the purpose of my life. I oftentimes linked it to career too. Like, it was extremely linked to career. I was like, okay, so the purpose of your life is to be the best singer-songwriter in the world and to hold the biggest concert in the history of concerts. That's a goal I had. Actually, Gen V, you may remember this because I know a lot of you came from that time period, and that was like 2020, I think, 2021, maybe. I was talking about that very avidly. I started social media because I wanted to be a singer-songwriter, and I was like, I need a social media. Like, I cannot do this without social media. Like, I don't want to get signed to a label and then get marketed that way. I want to market myself. No, I'm a social media coach. I'm marketing to other people. Like, isn't that so cool? Anyway, but the purpose of life is really just living it. And even recently, I feel like after becoming a social media coach full time, in a sense where I still do content creation, obviously, like it's my biggest passion, probably just making content, creating content, and then helping other people do the same. Like, I love it. My eyes light up when I talk about it, as you can see right now. But I try to put myself in a box too, of like, oh, my purpose is being a social media coach, like coaching social media, business coaching. Of course, but like my purpose, and then somebody actually messaged me. They're like, "Very, like, don't say that. Your purpose is more than that." And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I kind of see that. So the point is, I feel like with purpose, I've always tried to put myself in like a box. Of, like, my whole life is dedicated to like music, and like nothing else matters. And I was just so scared of breakaway success from career, because for me they were so tightly intertwined that when I even thought of doing that, like for example, if I was like, well, if I don't become a singer songwriter, if I do something else, but I have like an amazing family, like I'll still be happy. I was so scared of thinking that way because in my mind, if I failed career wise, and failure doesn't exist, that's another lesson, but if I failed career wise, then I was just a failure, period. Like, to me, success was career. Success equals career. So that was that. And I just recently began realizing that the purpose of life is truly just living it. I don't know, just living it. That's all. That's all that there is to it. And the career that you choose, and the family that you have, the people that you date, the friends that you make, the things that you buy, they just enhance your life. They just make living it much better. That's why we do those things. But the purpose of life is just to live it. So lately I've been just trying to take in as much as I possibly can from my life. Like, I went on a walk yesterday without music, without headphones, without nothing, just walking and taking it in, like smelling the amazing scents and fresh air or whatever, and just looking in my neighborhood. And I was like, this is my life. Like, I'm fully taking it in as much as I can each and every moment. Well, I'm far from that, but I take it as much as I can. Now, second lesson is there's more than one way to become rich and famous. I was so ashamed of admitting it, but I've always wanted to be rich and famous. Now I feel like a lot of these lessons, honestly, it's amazing to see, but they've come from me being more comfortable with myself and just being more confident in myself, right? So my biggest goal ever since I was like 11 years old was becoming rich and famous. I was so scared of it though. Like, I was ashamed to admit it. I would never tell anybody that I wanted to be a singer-songwriter or like just wanted to be popular. Never. Never. Okay? But I'll admit it now. Like, I want to be rich and famous. How rich do I want to be? I want to be wealthy to the point where all my needs are supplied. My family is completely covered. My parents are retired. Like, I'm good. My kids are great. That's how wealthy I want to be. Everything else financially to me is about impact, not just like, oh, I want to have 1,000 yachts. I don't really care about that. Just me personally. Like, that doesn't give me anything. I just want to have all my needs and like wants and desires taken care of, and those are the people around me. Now, fame. How famous do I want to be? I'd love to be famous in like kind of like a niche way. Like, people know me in the industry, in a specific industry. They know who I am, but I'm not like Kim Kardashian famous. That's like scary. I feel like no, I'm okay. Like, Keanu Reeves kind of famous. Like, you can still go out, but everyone knows it's like, it's you, but you're famous in a niche way. I really like that. I guess Keanu Reeves is not a good example because I don't know if he's an A-list celebrity, but he was in the Matrix. Come on, everybody knows Keanu Reeves. So I guess maybe like slightly less, where I'm not like at the top of people's heads all the time, but people know me in the industry. Like Tony Robbins, he's a life coach. Tony Robbins, like, do you know him? If you were in life coaching, you know, that kind of thing. So, but there's more than one way. And in my mind, it was so constructive. Like, I have to become a singer-songwriter, and if I don't, I'm going to fail miserably, and I'll be a failure. Like, that's it, period. And And it's been really funny just seeing how that evolves, because just realizing that there's more to you outside of your career and the career you want to pursue has been incredible. Like that was really fun for me. Third lesson is people's perception of you is a reflection of themselves. That's such a beautiful phrase. I don't know if I came up with it, but I have not heard anybody. Also, my hair is itching my face. If you see me like scratching, I don't know why, but it just like my face is super itchy. But essentially, I think I've always been kind of very, very sensitive to other people's opinions. And we're talking outside people as well, but also my family. Like, I would listen to them religiously. If my parents said something, I was like, this is the law. Like, there's no other way. This is the law. My parents know best, you know? Just growing up with like a deep, deep sense of trust to my family members and like being like, yeah, they know better than I do. But truthfully, lately, and it's been amazing to see, is I've just started relying on myself more. I do things, and I started asking for input of my family, like my favorite people in the world, less and less. Because I'm like, I know I want to do this. Like, why do I need to ask? I only ask when it's relevant. Like, for example, with my second song, with my first song, Alex, you can listen to on Spotify, Vera V Alex. I had a very creative vision for it. And I was like, I know how I want the song to go, and this is how it's going to go, period. Like, I do not want input from anybody else. I don't want them to tell me, like, oh, you should do this. No, like, I was not open to ideas. And I just had a creative vision and I went to fulfill it. And I did. I executed it perfectly with the creative vision that I had. Okay. It was like a specific message. I was in my creative era. Okay. Like I said, I'm a creative person. And with this, my second song, I know the goal of it. I know how I want it to be, but at the same time, I'm open to input from people who are relevant to the song. For example, my dad has not listened to the song. Why? Because he's not of musical authority to me. Like, he's not my target audience. He's not a musical authority. He'll listen to it when it comes out, or actually when it's ready. I'll play it for them, of course. But like, I do not need his input on it, right? Or even my best friend, like, love her. I'm super excited for her to hear the song. If she loves it or hates it, I know she will love it. Obviously, like, she's super supportive of me, but she's not a musical authority of me, so I'm not gonna ask for her musical opinion on my musical song. Like, there's no need. But I talked to my piano teacher about it. He gave me his thoughts. I went to a songwriting workshop. Another thing I did, I forgot to mention. We kind of like adjusted it together. Those are the people of musical authority who actually helped. And it's funny because the girl in the songwriting workshop, I had like a teacher. She's in her 20s, I think. But she went to Berklee School of Music, which is really cool. And I was like, I know about Berklee School of Music. I did a songwriting workshop with them, actually, but it was online, so it was different. Paid 400 buckaroos for that one. But just relying on people who are of authority to you in your specific field instead of just like asking for people's input. That's been pretty big for me. And just realizing that how people perceive you is their responsibility. It's one thing to say it, it's another to internalize it. And especially with like social media, I feel like in the past it would really hurt me. Even when it wasn't my full-time job, like, oh, my views are tanking. Oh, this is happening. Like, people are saying this about me, blah, blah. But now I just realized that all the things that people say is just a projection of themselves. Like, when they look at me, when you look at me, you're literally looking in the mirror. That's what it is. Obviously, like Gen V, if you're listening to the podcast, it's a little different because I feel like you know me a lot better, and I hopefully know you. I know a lot of you too. So it's slightly different. But with a stranger who encounters, for example, your piece of art or your piece of content, and they just kind of like encounter it and then go about living their life, they don't know you. They probably will never know you, and that's okay. So whatever they say about it is just truly what they have in their own inner world, and they just want to share that. Fourth thing that I would tell my teenage self is, this is such a big one, and this goes back to my toxic productivity era, but getting quality sleep is a keystone of productivity, okay? And having mid-energy crashes is not healthy. When I say I was crazy productive, I don't mean like I was healthy productive. I feel like the value of sleep was never instilled into me as a kid. I don't know why, but it just never was. A lot of values were instilled to me, like, for example, like alcohol does damage to your body. Like, do not drink it. And one of the lessons is about that. Like, caffeine, you do not need it. So don't, like those holistic principles were instilled, and I still abide by a lot of them. But with getting quality sleep, like I don't know why, I just never had it. So ever since I was probably in 6th grade, so maybe 12 years old, I've been staying up late, like pretty much every single day since then, up until a certain point, because I thought that was like what productive was. Like, I would always work overtime, and it wasn't even that productive if you really think about it. Like, it just sounds good of like, I went to sleep at like 12 a.m. working, and I woke up at 5 to work some more. It sounds good, but is it healthy? No. And long term, it made me less productive because I would have the midday energy crashes that I do not have now. Why? Because I get good quality sleep. Like, that's how it works. That's how it should be. But I didn't know. So I would sacrifice my sleep as like the first thing. It was really dumb. But I think in a masochistic way, and masochistic is like a loosely term because I don't mean for it to sound by definition exactly, because it does mean like sexual, but no. Just in a masochistic way of like enjoying inflicting pain on yourself in just a very sick, weird way. it made me feel more alive. It truthfully did. Like when I was sleep deprived, I felt my most alive. I don't know why. It's just crazy. Maybe, hopefully, I mean, hopefully not, but hopefully, just so I don't feel alone, somebody could relate. But I don't know why, but it just, when I put myself in like the toughest conditions ever, I felt most alive. And I was like, yeah, I'm living. Like, I'm really moving towards my goals. I'm really striving right now. I'm really succeeding right now. Like, it's crazy. And it has no foundation or basis to it. And that's insane. Like, why would I ever, but that's the way it was. So it's not healthy. No, I started getting quality sleep and it kind of changed my life. And it actually started happening fairly recently. It is April 2nd right now. 9:59 a.m. when I'm recording this. I started getting quality sleep maybe like November, October of 2023. Actually happened when I met my boyfriend, which is why one of the reasons why I'm so grateful to him. We've been together for some time now, and I just, before him, like I was in my sleep deprivation era. Always, I would not get more than 7 hours. I thought 7 hours was like good. I was like, I don't need any more. And like when we started dating too, I was like, 7 hours is fine. Like I'd wake up at like 5 and we'd go for a run. I'd make him wake up at 5 too, and we'd go for a run. Like it was not very sustainable, but to me it was, because I was just so used to it. And here's the thing about sleep deprivation: when you're sleep deprived, you don't know it. There's no way for you to tell because you're sleep deprived. So people who are like, oh, I'm fine with 5 hours of sleep, like try getting 8 consistently. It will change your life. I promise. It did to me. And I was super stubborn when I was like 17. I did not want to hear it. I would sleep for 3 hours for like a week straight. And I was like, I'm fine, just working hard, blah, 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 blah. But long term, that makes you less productive. And it actually has impacts on your brain, especially as a developing young teenager. I'm not saying to get like 10 hours of sleep unless you want to. I personally, hot take, but I think it's kind of like BS. Teenagers do need to get more sleep. Like, there's a point where you have to cut yourself off. Like, do you want to spend 12 hours sleeping a day? Like, I don't know. I feel like you might want to look into your nutrients, physical activity in that case. But eight to maybe like 9 sometimes is a healthy amount. So that's a good one to focus on. Now, this perfect segue. Lesson number 5 is romantic relationships are not a waste of time. I grew up thinking that, and I so deeply instilled it into myself. And I wanted to experience love and romance in my teenage years so bad. So bad. I would give like anything to do it, but I was extremely ashamed of it and super embarrassed. Like I wanted a boyfriend so bad, but I would never ever tell anybody. I would shit on relationships all the time. Like I remember my older sister, Alexandra, obviously she's 5.5 years older than me. Like she'd be going out and like having a boyfriend and, whatever, just being with different men. Okay, wait, pause. That's a really weird. Not being with different men, but like when she was dating the men she was dating, I don't know. You can listen to her podcast, Girls Want to Know by Alexandra Vlasova. Girls Want to Know on Spotify and I think everywhere else. But listen to her podcast. She talks about relationships there. She's a relationship coach. She's amazing. But anyway. And I would just shit on it consistently. I'd be like, oh, such a waste of time. Like, why are you not focusing on, like, your career and blah, 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 blah. Just super, I don't know, weird. Just weird. That's all. But okay, so up until this point, I had multiple relationships. My first one was when I was 18 years old. So before that, I don't know, I just was not, I don't think I was ready for it at all. Like, I did not want it either because I was like, everyone my age is like dumb. And obviously when you're 17, like, you don't want to be dating a 20-year-old. That's kind of weird. You're just in different phases of life and it's also illegal. So at least in California where I live. But law aside, that happened to me when I was 18 years old and I experienced like falling in love, or so I thought, and loving a person, or so I thought. And then I underwent a heartbreak and I met my current boyfriend when I was 19. I'm 20 now, obviously. And that was amazing. Like, that was like one of the best things I think that ever happened to me. Not to get like cheesy, but truthfully it just changed my life completely in so many ways. And it's not in the sense where like you cling onto the person, because I think that when I was younger, that's something that I've been super afraid of just like being like losing yourself and like losing your time to the person. But we see each other pretty much every single day, believe it or not. Like I do have a busy schedule, but at the same time I work smarter, not harder. We see each other pretty much every single day. In the past 3 weeks, we've seen each other maybe like 99% of those. Like literally all the time. And let me just say, teenage Vera, that only enriches you. The amount of things I've learned from dating him and being with him, I don't think I could have learned anywhere else. Maybe I could have, but it would have taken me years. And I just have become like a whole new person as a result. Because he motivates me, I motivate him. He inspires me, I inspire him. It's such a beautiful cycle. And if you're lucky enough to experience love and a romantic relationship, like just truly thank your stars for that one. Because I think it's one of the most rare things when you're synergetic with a person. Like you have similar values, similar goals, similar ambitions. Like you're moving maybe in different paths, like we're in different career fields, for example, like completely different industries. But at the same time, I know where I'm going and I know where he's going, and it's pretty similar. Like it's similar ambitions. And I think that's amazing. It's one of the luckiest things probably ever. Which brings me to point 6, is you'll meet the right person when you stop wanting. This is such a big one. It's the law of detachment. I think it originates from Buddhism, which obviously I'm not a Buddhist. Like, I do not know that much about it, but I did take a world religions class, and I was very curious about Buddhism. But with the law of detachment, at least how I interpret it, correct me if I'm wrong, is if we especially link it to love, a lot of people are like, I want a partner, I want a boyfriend, I want this, I want that. And it either comes from wanting to socially fit in, of all my friends have a boyfriend, I want one too, which is normal. It's part of growing up, it's part of teenagehood. Or it comes from an unfulfilled need, which I mean, guess the two are linked together. Like, I want a boyfriend because in my mind, he's going to be bringing me flowers and I'm going to have that need fulfilled. So that's why I want a boyfriend. So it's very important to get clear on why you want the things that you want. But truthfully, and this happens to me every single time, you do meet the right person, like the person you actually date, the person you're actually synergetic with, when you stop wanting, when you stop wanting to meet them, when you fully just start focusing on your life. Obviously, you're putting yourself out there. Like, it's super silly to be like, yeah, like, I'll meet my husband when I'm like out in the store. Like, I don't have no intentions of like dating. Maybe that happens to some people, but truthfully, you just have to put yourself out there. Like, dating apps are a great resource. Through dating apps, I've met the coolest people I probably would not have otherwise met. I'm talking about my German aerospace engineers. It was an era. Listen to my dating podcast episode like June. Yeah, I spill the tea in that one. But just detach yourself from it. Like, truthfully, just realize that when it's time, it will happen. If you're doing the best you possibly can, and not in a sense of like, if a person does not want to have a relationship or a relationship with you, that's usually what it is. Sorry to break it to you. If you're like, well, like, maybe it'll work. No, do not delude yourself. Okay, do not be delusional. This is not the time to be delulu. Your delulu will not come true when it comes to other people. Okay, you just got to be very honest with yourself. So you just have to stop wanting. That's all. That's truly the secret. When I met my current boyfriend, I was putting myself out there, but I was honestly, I was kind of like on the verge of giving up. I could not even imagine that I would meet somebody when I was like 19. I thought I would meet somebody like serious when I was like 23, maybe like 24, 25 even. So I was fully prepared for that to happen. And I wanted a relationship so badly, but I was like, you know what? Like, it's probably not going to happen. And I'm okay with it. And as soon as I made peace with it, period, sis. Hey, hey, queen. Hey, king. So truth is, you never know, but everything will happen when the time is right. As long as you do your best, you work on yourself. With relationships, again, listen to my podcast with Alexandra, because we talk about it a lot. But a lot of people are like, oh, I want like a high quality man. Okay, but are you a high quality woman? Like, you have to know what you give to the person. That's a whole other thing. Now, lesson number 7 is you do not need to read the news to be responsible. This is a big one, the big opinion. A lot of talk going around like, oh, you have to be a responsible citizen, blah, blah, blah. But I'll be honest with you, I do not read the news. Like, I know what's going on in the world, but most of the things I know about what's going on in the world is against my will. I do not go out and seek out information about the wars that are happening, the conflicts. And call this privileged, it absolutely is, because I don't know. I'm not, here's the best way to say it. I am not forced to participate in the horrific world events happening, right? Because I obviously, like, I live in my little bubble in Orange County, and I live a great life, and I'm like building my career. And I know there are people dying and suffering, and I just feel so sad about it. Like, truthfully, it just hurts my heart, pains me. But at the same time, with so much tragedy happening in the world, there's also a good amount of good happening in the world. People just choose not to focus on it, but that's another thing. But with so much tragedy happening in the world, to be a responsible person, you do not need to partake in it, truthfully, unless it affects, the world, like the immediate world around you. That's how I believe it. Maybe it's like a crazy, irresponsible 20-year-old me take. Maybe when I'm 25, I'll be like, Vera, like, why didn't you read the news? But truthfully, I don't think so. Because I think, to me at least, and this is selfish, and I'll admit it, like, I'm all for being selfish in certain ways, but your mental peace is much more important. Like, I can only imagine how I would feel if I read the news constantly. I would be down in the dumps. I'm a very empathetic person in a sense where, like, if I watch a video of like somebody being sad, like, I will cry, like, and it's gonna affect me, So with having my goals and being privileged enough to do so, and I'm so grateful that obviously I am in this place, like, it's amazing. Even with the wars happening in Russia, Ukraine, like, we moved from Russia in 2013. I'm not in the midst of that, and I'm so incredibly grateful. And of course, I know what's happening in the world, but I do not go and seek out information on it. And a lot of people, once again, they say it's irresponsible. I just say it's protecting your peace. And I think that's just the best way to go about it. Because also with the news, like, I was listening to a podcast episode on it. It just feels like there's so much worse things happening in the world. But truthfully, there isn't. It's pretty much the same amount. It's just we're seeing so much more of it because those resources have become more easily accessible. So point is, I do not think you have to read the news to be responsible. That's just me though. All right. Lesson number 8 is that drinking alcohol is not the worst thing in the world. Do I drink alcohol? No. That just does not align with my lifestyle. I like to be in my conscious, sober mind. I always have been that way because I was brought up that way. But in my mind, when I was a teenager, I was like, oh my gosh, I would literally like in my mind just somehow demonize people who like drank or partied or like took any substances. I was like, you guys are all losers, like truthfully, big losers. But some of the most successful people in the world partake in that. Now, is that an argument to do that? No, I mean, I still stand by what I say. Like, I don't think substances are good for you. I think the best way to live life more aligned to your purpose is to be in your conscious, sober state of mind. That's just me though. But at the same time, I think I've become a lot open-minded over the years where I just realized that it's really not that deep. Like if you're getting blackout drunk every single day, obviously like get a grip. You might have a little disease called alcoholism, like rough. Yike. I have had a lot of alcoholics in my family. Like in my family tree, if you look down the line, it's like, it gets pretty fun. Russia. Anyway, but at the same time, like if you're just going out with friends once in a while and you have like a drink, because like that's what everyone's doing, like you like the way that it makes you feel, then that's not that deep. Like it's not gonna make you a demon. It's not gonna ruin all your progress in life that you've ever made, you know? So I think a big part of growing up is just becoming more open-minded, not seeing things as like black and white. Drop of alcohol, bad. Drop of energy drink, bad. Not having that, good. Like even with energy drinks, I thought it was like the worst thing in the world. I was like, oh, people who do that are such losers. Like, why would you guys do that? Like, have natural energy. By the way, when I was in my mindset era, do you think I was drinking caffeine or having any of it? No, literally like natural energy. It was crazy. I don't know how I did that. I mean, now I'm not like addicted to caffeine either. Like I just have matcha. But if I get less than 8 hours of sleep, like less than 7 even, I'm tired. And I'm not afraid to admit it. But even with energy drinks, I would just demonize people who drink them, and I was like, you're such a loser. Like, why would you do that? But part of growing up is just maturing and opening up your worldview. And like, I have energy drinks sometimes. I have the ones not with crazy amounts of caffeine because I just don't need that much, like maybe 100 milligrams max. But like, if you look at some ingredients, like there's some good energy drink companies. It's not the worst thing in the world. Like, if you need it, you need it. If you want it, you want it. It's not that deep. But at the same time, like obviously being healthy about it. I have a very holistic approach. I should make a whole other podcast about this. It's a hot take, but I don't like take pills when I don't need to. Like if my head hurts, I'm not going to take an Advil. Like I just won't. I'll drink some water. I'll exercise. Like I'll make sure to overcome it holistically because I just don't like putting things in my body unless I absolutely have to. That's just me though. I feel like I'm gonna stop saying that. That's me though. It's so annoying. In one episode, I was saying truthfully like 1,000 times, and somebody got so sick of it they texted me like, "Vera, stop saying truthfully. Like it's hard to listen." So that's just me though. Just kidding. All right. Lesson number 9 is it's okay to have different friends for different reasons. I thought when I was younger that if you didn't have like lifelong best friends that you would die for, you didn't have friends. Like they're just people that you know. But truthfully, growing up now, I have different friends for different reasons. Some people I get super deep with. Others that's just not the vibe. Like we just talk about different things, and that's okay. Lesson number 10 is not going to college will have its repercussions truly and fully. Not in a bad way, not in a good way, just in a way, period. But because I feel like I never went to college full time, and it's not like it's like too late. I'm 20 years old, like I can go, but it's just not aligned with my career path. I know I probably will not go because I even to get education, like I take courses from the source. I don't really like going the traditional path because it's just a lot of time wasted. Especially right now because I feel like so many institutions have their own political agendas and agendas in general, and that's just not the vibe for me, at least because that's not what I want to be paying money for. I want to pay money to get my knowledge. Exactly. Like if I could go to college and learn a subject of my choice and I felt like the subject was like right for me to learn without the GEDs, without this, without that, I would totally go. But I don't want to have to be paying my money to learn something that like I did not sign up for. That's just me. Okay, I'm just very clear on my career path. So that's what I'm saying. But it did have its repercussions. I feel like socially, I'm not super experienced with like partying and like drinking and this and that. And like even with dating, a lot of aspects, I was talking to my boyfriend about this, but like I was very clueless in a lot of those things, just very naive because I didn't have that experience. And I feel like college is a lot of that is about having that experience, and I just didn't. So it definitely had its repercussions. Is that a bad thing? No. Is it a good thing? No, it's just a thing. So it's very interesting now, just to see how that kind of evolves and how I get that experience elsewhere. Lesson number 11 is your parents are people living for the first time too. When I was a teenager, I had a lot of angst, as did anybody, I think, but also like towards my parents in some ways, where I would take their word as the law, but I would not listen to myself doing it during taking their word as the law. So I would just like follow them blindly, but like not really listen to myself. And that caused me to have a little bit of resentment in a lot of ways, like just like be angry and angsty overall. But lately I've been just taking a step back and realizing that my parents are people living for the first time too. Like truthfully, and they're just doing the best they can. All the people are just doing the best they can, and if they have their faults, it's very important to forgive them. Forgive the faults, just not for the sake of them, but for the sake of you, and obviously for the sake of them, but for the sake of you and maybe your relationship, because everyone's just on this floating rock for the first time. Like, it's not that deep, you know? So yeah, just living with a heart that is open and kind of empty of like resentment is really nice as you get into your 20s. Anyway, lesson 12 is you will achieve all your goals with enough effort. It's just a matter of time. I would always doubt myself, and I don't know why, but I really always would. And I was like, Vera, you're never going to achieve this, you're never going to achieve that. But truthfully, you can achieve and you will achieve absolutely anything if you just put enough effort into it. So now with business, with content creation, with anything, even like dating, I think that could apply to is just change your mindset from like, oh, I don't know if it will happen for me, to I know it will happen for me. It's just a matter of time. Think about dating, for example. Say you want to meet your husband or your wife. You're like, oh, like none of the dates I've been on have been successful. Okay, how many have you gone on? 5, 20, 30? Like, up that number up a little bit. If you've gone to 5,000, then let's talk then. It's just, everything's a numbers game, truthfully, it is. If you're approaching whatever it is that you want to approach correctly and in a smart way, like applying to jobs. If you apply to 500, maybe you won't get one. But if you apply to 5,000, I guarantee you'll have some offers lined up. Granted, your resume is, all set up. So I know for a fact that all the goals I have right now, I will achieve them. It's just a matter of time and effort and the amount of effort I put into it. And obviously a little bit of luck, but I think that the harder you work, the luckier you get. And I truly stand by it. Now, lesson 13 is relaxing will make you more successful. I've experienced this. March, I've made the most amount of money I have made, and I worked the least amount of time it worked. I took literally 2 weeks off. So I worked for 2 weeks, took 2 weeks off basically, because I just was not working as intently. So yeah, we'll see how this month is. Because entrepreneurship, it's a little up and down. It's a little wave. It's a little roller coaster. So we'll see. But relaxation, truthfully, I feel like, especially in creative lines of work, it just gives you so much space in your head for new ideas and for new projects that you want to start. And that's amazing. That's something that should be honored. And relaxation, I do not mean like laying on your couch watching TikToks. I mean just kind of like having a little bit more silence in your life. I think like meditating more, going on walks in quiet, maybe even trying new things, but that's relaxing. Now, 14, tell yourself I'll think about it tomorrow to stop overthinking. I'm a chronic overthinker, or so I was, until my first breakup really helped me get over that, because to get over it, I was like, okay, I'm getting over it in the quickest amount of time possible. Like, I'm not stretching this out. So I made myself a rule. Like, for the first week, I would not think about the person. You imagine how hard this is. Like, it's a fresh breakup. As soon as he would enter my mind, I'd go, I'll think about it tomorrow. He would exit. I would literally like dismiss thoughts. I'd picture them as balloons and I'd cut a thought off. I actually have, I think, like turning my breakup into like a grind set mindset era. I don't know. I have that on my YouTube channel. You can watch. But that really helps. Just truthfully tell yourself you'll think about it tomorrow, and then think about it tomorrow. Or actually, don't think about it tomorrow. Because tomorrow you'll say the same exact thing. I overthink a lot less now because I just tell myself like it's not that deep. And I think a lot of that comes with maturity. Truthfully, because when I was like 15 years old, I was writing journals, and journaling would not help me because I would just start spinning out even more, like crying even more. It's just a very emotional time when you're a teenager. So that too shall pass. Trust. Now, lesson 15. This is gonna sound so bad. You're gonna be like, Vera, like, is this news? No. But lesson 15, I wish I could tell my teenage self, is that getting married is not cringe. I thought it was like the worst thing in the world. Like you really want like a lifelong person. Like, come on, grow up. Like, you'll wake up and break up. You will break up. But I was a little intense when I was 17, very opinionated about things that I literally did not experience. I did not have any experience like relationships at that point, but I had so many opinions, just a very theoretical type of girly. But I just realized that getting married is not cringe. Like, I want to have a family. That's one of the big goals I have, and that's how I define success, a big definition of it. Relationships, I truly think, are the most important thing in your life. Money, career, that's amazing, and that's like something that you should strive for, and obviously I do. But like kids, I'm so super excited to have kids. Might even have kids like when I'm like 22, 23. Who knows? Me listening back to this when I'm 22, 23, be like, Vera, queen, like, no. We'll see. But point is, I don't know. In my mind, I would just always be like, yeah, like I want to have kids, of course. Because I mean, I had a good relationship with my family. I still have. So I had like a good example of it. I was like, yeah, I'll have kids when I'm like 30. No, early, because I have to focus on my career. But now thinking about it, like maybe 22, 23. Once again, I'm not planning on it. I'm not manifesting it. Okay, like scratch this out of your head. Just like let it just happen the way it's gonna happen. But point is, it's just not the worst thing in the world to like start that younger, you know? Getting married too. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get married at like 35, or I'm never gonna get married. What's the point? I'm gonna break up anyway. But truthfully, like, I'd love to get married someday. Why not? Maybe I'll change my mind like a year to be like, well, I don't know about that. Obviously, like, I'll do a prenup just to be a little bit smart about it. Would recommend to anybody. Is marriage a institution that works logically? No, absolutely not. Divorce rates are super high, and the goal of marriage is not to stay together and not get divorced. It is to be happy, and majority of married couples are not happy. So does marriage work? No, realistically. But still, like, why not? You know, I'd love to do it. Like, I feel like it'd be so fun to like pick out wedding dress and like make a bunch of content about it. And yeah. So point is, it's not cringe. Now, will I be getting married anytime soon? It's not in the plans. With kids too. Like, I know I said 22, 23. I think that time's gonna come a lot closer than I realized it. Because in my mind, look, when I'm like 22, 23, I'm like fully established in my career. I'm like chilling. But that's just me being a little naive girl. The point is, it's gonna happen at some point. Probably, especially starting a family. Like, I know for a fact I want kids and I want a lot of them. So that'll be amazing. Not right now though. Stay safe. But at some point. Now, lesson 16 is that this is something I learned, and once I learned it, it really changed my life. Is I would always think of myself as like lazy. And then taking a step back, I realized that I'm not an inherently lazy person. Inherently, I never had to make myself do things. I'd only make myself do things when I did not have the resource to actually do them. Like with sleep, I would be sleep deprived all the time, and I'd push myself harder and harder. Like, imagine me, like, and then imagine me right here, and then there's a me right there, and I'm like whipping myself, like, go faster, like a horse, like with reins, go faster, go faster. And I would just have so much struggle because I did not provide myself with the resources to actually go faster. Like, I did not optimize my productivity in a way. And I thought optimizing my productivity meant just like waking up at 4 a.m. Girl, no, just get more sleep. Like, I wake up at like maybe 7 now, 6, 7 a.m., which is still early. I just like being early, but like 7 a.m. more consistently. And it's nice. I'm more productive now. Like, you don't have to be waking up at 5 a.m. to be productive. Hot take, but you really don't. And when I realized that I'm not inherently lazy, I stopped putting so much pressure on myself. And instead of like making myself succeed, I started thinking about how to allow myself to succeed. Oh, now, 17. Time will fly by quicker than you will realize. Enough said. 18. If you want to make $7,000 a month, set a goal of making $7,000 a month and break it down. In my mind, I had so many career goals and financial goals, but I never knew how to make them happen. And this is what content creation is all about. Partially. But if you want to make an X amount of money, you're not going to make it if you just set a goal and like work towards it. That's too abstract. You have to be more specific with it. Set yourself a number that you want to be making every single month and then break it down. How are you going to get that money? How are you going to get it? Is it by working 50 hours a week? Is it by working, like, get very clear on that. That's important. Now, 19 is silence is the best self-improvement book. Lately, I think I'm the most well-versed in self-improvement as I've ever been. It's one of my favorite topics ever. But I'm consuming the least amount of information on it, the least amount of media on it. And the reason for that is I think what's much more valuable, instead of like reading self-improvement literature all the time, every day, all the time, is just like taking a moment and listening to yourself. Like, that is pretty revolutionary. Because truthfully, the self-improvement books are like written by, they're pretty much like, here, I'll say this. I know everyone's too afraid to, but all the self-improvement books are like the same book, just in different fonts. That's literally what it is. Just slightly reworded. Same exact concepts that I feel like are so blatantly obvious if you just take a moment and you just listen to yourself. Like, close your eyes, meditate for a little bit every morning. You'll have those same realizations, but instead they'll actually apply to you. Because I think why people become deeply unhappy as time moves on, especially when they get older, is because they just forget how to listen to themselves. Like, they truly just lose touch of themselves. And obviously when you do that, then you kind of like lose the purpose of living in the first place, which becomes dark and depressing and takes you down a dark and depressing hole. But if you just take a moment consistently to listen to yourself and to be like, here's what I'm doing, here's what I want to do, like, I know this and this resonates within myself, you'll be much more happy. You know, final lesson is to make time in your schedule for spontaneity. I'm the least spontaneous person ever still to this day. I'll be loud and proud. I love scheduling things. I like having things planned. That's just the way I am. Maybe it'll change, but I just would always have like everything stacked in my schedule for the next 4 weeks for no reason too. But now I just make space for spontaneity. Like, me saying this as my day today is fully time stacked, and time blocked. But truthfully, I do. Just the best memories happen when you're spontaneous, not when you schedule them. All right, this is the end of this podcast episode. Give it 5 stars, subscribe, send this to a teenager you know, whether that be a sibling, a friend, or yourself. And if you like this episode, let me know. If you didn't, also let me know. I want to hear your input. Like, what did you not like about it? What do you agree with? What do you not agree with? I'd love to hear. And if you're older, like if you're in your late 20s, mid 20s, 30s, what do you think? Like, what do you think about these? I'm super curious. Please let me know. And let's support our community always. Remember, we're going to always subscribe, follow, blah, blah. You know the drill. And yeah, this is our birthday special. Okay, bye. 3, 2, 1. Launch to success with Vera V.